Okay, so I am reading the Bible for the first time and I have to talk about it because it's just such a trip. This is Judges Part 2. If you want to see Part 1 or any of the previous books, those are all already on my page. Where we left off was like this cycle of the Israelites forgetting God, then getting oppressed by another group of people, going to God crying, God taking them back, sort of over and over. And I want to say at this point we have to be at like 1,000+ years of this cycle. Maybe we're at like 1000 BC. I don't know. But so God sends like one of his angels down to this random lady and is like, hey, I know that you're barren right now. Don't worry. I am going to send you a baby soon. There's only one rule. You can't cut his hair. So just don't cut his hair. Everything's going to be chill. But that's God's baby. And she's like, okay. She goes tells her husband Manoah. And Manoah's like, I need a little bit more information. Like, that's sort of not enough for me. Do you have more instructions or something? So the angel comes back down and he's like, nope, no more instructions. Like, you're gonna have a baby, don't cut his hair. Pretty simple, that's it, follow those rules. And Manoah doesn't realize that this is the angel of the Lord, so he's like, hey, what's your name, by the way? And the angel just responds, it is beyond understanding. Like, you literally wouldn't get it. You wouldn't get it. So they have the baby. The baby's name is Samson. And Samson is a BRAT. We fast forward to like, I assume he's like a teenager in his 20s or something. And he sees this girl, she's a Philistine, and the Philistines are oppressing the Israelites. So he sees this girl, she's a Philistine, and he's like, I want her. And he goes to his parents and he's like, you gotta get me that girl. And they're like, why do you want her? She's a Philistine. Choose anybody else. And he's like, no, she's what I want. She's what I want. You must get her. And it just, the way that he was like talking to his parents was giving me Veruca Salt, which I was kind of like surprised that they even have a kid talking to his parents this way in the Bible. Like, just so bratty. But you realize that behind the scenes, God is doing this because he wants to start shit with the Philistines. They say it. They're like, God is doing this because he wants a reason to start a fight. My messy queen. So Samson goes to go talk to his girl, and then there's like a lion on the way there, and he takes the lion and he crushes the lion, he rips the lion apart. He goes and he talks to his girl, and then as he's on his way back, he looks at the lion's carcass, and the lion's carcass is full of bees and honey. So he takes it, like the little freak he is, he gets this honey and he starts eating it, and then he takes it back to his parents, and he doesn't even tell his parents like this is from like this lion carcass. That I don't know, like I don't know how you explain any of this shit. Like, it doesn't make any fucking sense. Okay, so then he gets the girl and he's like, we are gonna have a wedding and I'm inviting everybody, all the Philistines, whatever, to come party with me. We're gonna have feasts, we're gonna dine, it's gonna be awesome. So he's hosting this big dinner with everybody, and he's like, okay, guys, I have a fun game. I'm gonna give you guys a riddle, and if you can solve the riddle in 7 days, then I have to give you all this shit. But if you can't solve the riddle, then you have to give me all your shit. And he's like, okay, are you ready for the riddle? And they're like, yeah, tell us. That sounds like a great deal. We'll like figure out the riddle. So the riddle is, out of the eater something to eat, out of the strong something sweet. Obviously, nobody can get this fucking riddle. Like, everybody's like, what the hell are you talking about? So so all of the Philistines go to his girl and they're like, you little biatch, like, you brought us into this situation. Your man is telling weird ass riddles at the table and like it doesn't make any sense. And we need to know. So you need to figure out what the hell is going on. And she's like, okay. So she goes back to him and she's literally crying to Samson. She's like, you hate me. Like, you put me in this position. Now you're not even going to tell me your riddle. Like, that's so messed up. And he's like, baby, I don't hate you. He tells her the riddle. She goes back and tells her people the riddle. This is on the 4th day of the 7th day. And they're like, okay, sick. So they go back to the feast and they sit down and Sam is like, what's the riddle? And they're like, okay, we're ready. What is sweeter than honey? What is stronger than a lion? Not a riddle, not a riddle answer. Like, that is not, and only Samson would know that. Nobody else would know that. Like, this is shady. This is a trap, and this is a trick, and I don't like it. Okay, it's manipulative. So Sam says to them, he goes, if you had not plowed with my heifer, you would not have solved my riddle. He just called his woman a heifer at the table. And why did he say plow? You plowed my heifer. Okay. So Samson is pissed. He dumps his girl. He says, get the hell out of here. I literally never want to see you again. And we're done because you sold me out. So Samson goes to... Samson is like later trying to make amends with his girl and goes to her family's house. And her dad's like, well, actually, she's already taken. She's sort of like shacked up with one of your friends now. But my younger daughter is single, and actually she's way prettier. Like, you would be getting a really good, like, it actually would be working out for the best for you if this were the case. And he's like, I want her. So he says no, and he goes out and he gets 300 foxes and ties their tails up in pairs. So there's 150 pairs of foxes with their tails tied together. And then he puts lanterns on their tails where the tails are tied and sets them off into the Philistines' grain harvest. So all their grain is ruined. Which, like, I get lighting it on fire or whatever, but it's just such a weird way to do it. So then Sam is mad. He's like getting into like this was all an excuse to get into a war with the Philistines, right? And Sam is like fighting them left and right, and he's really strong, and he's showing that he's like so strong, like stronger than anybody else in really like crazy ways. And then at one point he defeats like all these people, and he's like, God, I'm so thirsty. Like, he's talking about, he's like, God, I'm so thirsty, and you're making me fight all these uncircumcised people. It's like, the issue with it is that they're uncircumcised. Okay. Then Sam meets this baddie Delilah. Now, what Delilah had in her like repertoire, I don't know. Like, it was like Lala Kent giving BJs for Range Rovers. Like, I don't understand how Delilah was getting away with this. But basically, Delilah keeps coming back to him and being like, hey, like, she's in cahoots with the Philistines, and she's like, hey, so I know you're like so strong, right? But like, let's say that I did want to tie you up and subdue you. What would that, like, how would that work? And he's like lying to her. Like, he's like, you could take this like special rope, and this special rope would work. And so she does it. She ties him up. Then the Philistines come, and she's like, oh my God, Sam, like, the Philistines are coming, like, what the hell? And then he breaks free, defeats the Philistines, and then it happens again where she's like, so that didn't work, but like, if I did want to tie you up and subdue you, like, what could I use? And then he tells her another thing, and it happens again. This happens like 25 times that she's like, but what would it be? And then is like, oh my God, they're coming to get you, how'd this happen? And then on the like 25th time, he's like, okay, fine, like, whatever, I'm, like, so annoyed of this game, I'll tell you, like, you just have to shave my head. So she shaves his head, takes all of his strength, they come, and they gouge his eyes out. But the rest of the story is, like, so long, I'm gonna have to make a part 3. This is actually crazy to me. Okay, I'll be back with part 3, Lilas.